Ladies and gentlemen, and this is Why UFOs Are Suddenly Everywhere by the channel Johnny Harris. Yes, this is, I think, it's going to be a video about how there is a, reporting of, from US government, I think, US defenses. They're actually reporting how there are certain UFOs that is, real, and they don't know what it's about, the UFO basically. Of course, they don't know about it. So, and also people are going to different podcasts and things, different, fighter pilots and from people from Pentagon and saying that this is real. We don't know anything about it. We're investigating it. And that has become quite a big thing recently. I guess this video is going to be about that. I remember watching the video about Tic Tac UFO from Lemino, which was really good. I think I reacted to that about 2 or so years ago. It was a really good video and had, real good detail about it. But yeah, since then, obviously, more information has come out. So, yeah, when people hear UFOs, they're like, oh, here you go, here comes the crazies with the tinfoil hat. Not necessarily, right? UFO means an unidentified flying object, right? So if US government and basically militaries are finding this, that means something is there. Doesn't necessarily automatically means aliens, right? So most people just dismiss anything like this comes out, even if it's from US government thinking, oh, they're talking about aliens. UFO does not mean aliens. It means there's something nobody knows about, so it's interesting. So this video is going to be fun. Let's watch it.
It's November 14th, 2004, about 100 miles off the coast of San Diego, California. The USS Nimitz, one of the U.S. Navy's largest aircraft carriers, is preparing for deployment to the Persian Gulf. But the radar technicians aboard notice something weird. The military report from that day says that they noticed, quote, multiple objects descending from around 60,000 feet down to 50 feet in a matter of seconds.
Damn.
Very high velocity.
Imagine that.
60,000 feet. A reminder that commercial airplanes fly at like 36,000 feet.
Yeah. G-forces
The
would be
report
ridiculous.
goes on to say that these objects, quote, hover for a short time and depart at super high velocities with, quote, advanced acceleration capabilities. At first, these radar techs thought that their fancy new radar system was messed up, so they recalibrated the radar, but the signal remained. Something was up here.
They're telling us they have a contact on their radar. They don't know what it is. They just have a blip. Well, they've been watching these things, and what he told me is they had been looking at these things as we're driving. He says, sir, we've been tracking these things for about 2 weeks. We had been at sea for 2 weeks. He goes, this is the first time we've had planes airborne. We want you to go see what these are.
Oh, wait a minute. By the way, I don't know what the actual evidence that is out there. Are they all based on something tech, right? Saw on radar, saw on this, saw on sonar, whatever, or it did people saw from their eyes? Because I think the Lemino video had the TikTok one, right? Tic Tac UFO, Tic Tac UFO. The fighter pilots. I don't know why So they actually saw that UFO. But then again, 1 or 2 people, they could be misguided. I don't know. So if it's all based on something tech, like radar sonar, then it could be some kind of a malfunction in there. Even if they constantly change it and, bring in new tech, there could be some anomaly that's common in all of them. But if people are seeing that from their eyes, lots of people are seeing that from their eyes, that would be some compelling shit.
So they sent out 2 FA-18s to investigate. The report from that day describes a day of blue skies, no clouds, and unlimited visibility. These 2 Navy pilots arrived to the scene, each with a weapons officer in the back. They look around and notice something strange in the water below.
So as we're looking down off the right side, the backseater in the other airplane, Jim, he says, hey, skipper, do you? And that's about what he gets out of his mouth. And I go, what the hell is that?
It looks as if some cross-shaped object the size of a massive airplane is submerged right underneath the surface of the water, and above it, it appears to be boiling. And just
right
above
below
the boiling water, an object is hovering.
And we saw this little white tic-tac looking object.
There you
and
go.
It's just kind of moving above the whitewater area.
Like no predictable movement, no predictable trajectory.
Yeah.
I guess. It was just
It was just like a ping pong ball.
no
Just
acceleration.
very random.
Acceleration.
The Navy report describes this object as, quote, an elongated egg or a Tic Tac. that was uniformly white across the entire body. It was approximately 46 feet in length. One of the pilots, with his weapons officer in the back, wanted to get a closer look.
So then I go, hey, I'm gonna go check it out.
So he turns his jet down towards the object, the other pilot staying back to get a wider view.
So I'm coming down, and as I get to 12 o'clock, as the Tic Tac's doing this, it's like it's aware of us, and it just goes bloop, and it kind of points out towards the west and starts coming up. So now it's obviously knows that we're there. Whatever this thing is, it knows that we're there. So I'm kind of almost coming out co-altitude as this thing's coming up. I'm going to meet it. And it just, as it crosses our nose, it accelerates and literally in less than, probably less than a half second, it just goes and it's gone.
And you saw no visible propulsion, no wings or anything to make it fly in our atmosphere?
As these two pilots are heading back to their...
Okay, seriously. I mean, if they saw some kind of a complex structure, like complex plane type of thing, it would be like, oh, look at that. There could be some. But seeing something so simplistic like Tic Tac, and that's frightening thing right there, right? I mean, you could say this could be from some other countries, or like this is USS, or maybe China, or some other countries' advanced tech or something. But something that looks like Tic Tac, how much advanced you have to be to pull that shit off? So that panics people right there. Like, if this is real, like, must be aliens, because what else can it be? I mean, I can't really imagine humans coming up with something like that. That would be an immense leap for the technology that we have today, right? I mean, if we wrote some kind of complex structure with some kind of propulsion that goes really fast, even then I can believe it. But Tic Tac, that would be like, that just frightens you. Now, there's many things like, look, human psyche is that, I mean, look at the mass hysteria, how mass hysteria works, right? I mean, you could say that these are two people, these are multiple people. If one is, if one guy saw it, maybe he's deluded. What about the other one? But that's not the case. Look at the mass hysteria, how that works. So if you see something on the radar constantly, and this is your job to go out there in open ocean, open wind, and you detect something like this every day, your brain could compensate that for basically. You could see something like Tic Tac or something, and just like how mass hysteria works, right? One after another, people show symptoms. Two people can kind of see that too. That's how psyche works. So I'm not entirely convinced with this Tic Tac thing, but it's still interesting, like how many people report this. Maybe flying this kind of a jet this fast in open seas and open air creates some kind of a psychological effect on you, that you see things, especially with suggestion from radars, like there is something there. And maybe there's nothing there, right? It's just radars are going haywire. There could be many other anomalies. Who knows?
Aircraft carrier, they get a radio call from one of their radar techs.
And he's like, hey, sir, you're not going to believe this, but that thing is at your cap. It showed back up. It just popped up. This is like 60 miles away. It just reappears.
Within seconds, 60 miles away. Just like that. By the time they get back to the Nimitz, the object is gone. So they gear up and get ready to send another jet out to investigate. And this time,
the way
they
jet
make sure
lands,
that an
man, that's
infrared
scary.
camera is strapped to the bottom. With the camera recording, they found the Tic Tac again.
Ooh.
Okay, so now we're looking at real data, real evidence that we can analyze. Get us away from relying on someone else's memory.
This is a camera, not a radar. This is an actual camera that's picking up. Now we're talking, right? Because I could dismiss a radar, but if radar is picking up, human is picking it up, and now some kind of a IR video, right? This is probably infrared, is also picking it up. This is kind of like strong evidence for me, at least. I mean, sure, anything can be anomalies, right? This could be 1 in a million chance where all equipments are malfunctioning, sure, but chances are low if all these things are picking it up.
What you're seeing is an object that is somehow flying through the sky. These infrared cameras will usually show a heat signature of exhaust, or some kind of energy that shows how an aircraft is being propelled. Something. But here there's nothing. And yet suddenly this object, in the blink of an eye, blasts away. And to be clear, we just showed you the raw clip. We didn't edit this in any way. This was back in 2004, but no one knew about it, and likely never would until it was leaked in 2007 on a fringe UFO website called Above Top Secret. It honestly looked like some kind of BS conspiracy UFO stuff, totally disregarded. But 10 years later, the Pentagon confirmed that actually it's totally legit. This is authentic Navy footage recorded by some...
Imagine that somebody actually went to some guy who knows a guy who has this website. They're like, I'm from the military and I have some secret data that you would love to get your hands on. They actually released it in 2007, leak it. And people are like, these are just some crazy. This is doctored bullshit, right? This footage is not real, it's all doctored. Imagine that guy like, I went through all this shit and none of you actually believe me. And then, years later when actually government comes and says, no, this is real. Imagine that guy's, face, the smile on his face, like, see, I told you.
Some of the best pilots on Earth, showing an unidentified flying object. The New York Times would go on to report on this pretty deeply and reveal that this video, as well as the first-hand accounts by people who saw this object, would lead the Pentagon to create a secret program to study what's happening
UPA
here.
or something,
and not
right?
just this encounter, but dozens of others. Something the public wouldn't hear about until
UPO,
recently.
UPA, I don't know.
And that's what this video is about.
US military officials have gone before a Congress hearing releasing once classified videos from private helicopters.
144 unexplained sightings.
UAP, UPA, sorry. Unidentified anomalous phenomena. Why did they name it that? Because they can say UFO. Now you would say like, okay, they are afraid people would see this as some crazy shit. And by people, I mean the Senate. Those people that walks in the Senate and see, I have a snowball in my hand. Where's the global warming? Those people. They're like, UFOs? What are you, crazy? What is this, History Channel? Get out of here. So that's why they name UAP. Like, it sounds technical and people in the Senate actually takes that seriously. That's where we're at, apparently.
Wait, pause. Yes, I know some of you are asking, am I actually doing this? Yes, I'm actually doing this. We're doing a deep dive on UFOs. And no, it's not some bait and switch storytelling device where I try to trick you into believing me and then like tell you.
I hate this, that he has to explain it that way. UFOs don't mean automatically alien. I hate when some people in certain trope just destroys the whole thing, the whole meaning of one word. UFOs are a real thing, unidentified. What does U stand for in UFO, man? Come on, it doesn't automatically mean aliens. It could be something we don't understand. Let's investigate.
Not believe everything you see. I'm actually doing this. I'm applying my journalistic lens to a topic that, in my opinion, has been thoroughly bastardized and sensationalized by the likes of the History Channel, UFO fanatics, and Hollywood. I want to do the opposite of all of that. I want to actually evaluate the facts, because honestly, there are some really compelling facts here. So this is not Roswell. It's not aliens landing at a school in Zimbabwe. It's not Bob Lazar claiming that he worked on UFO tech back in the 70s. I'm not touching any of that stuff. Maybe if this video does well, I will open up those cans of worms. Today, all I'm looking at are the hundreds of evidence-based sightings of stuff flying around.
Okay, Roswell one, I'm pretty sure that was just a missile test gone wrong, right? You can never know anything 100%, but that's convincing enough, I guess. The alien thing, again, human psychology is really strong. People just automatically assume one guy can have delusion. What about the second guy? What about the third guy? There is such thing as mass hysteria. That's a great evidence to explain anything. Like if one person feels it, other will influence by that and will start to see this. So the Zimbabwe school thing, I don't remember what that was, or maybe I'm mistaken this for something else that I read long ago. I'm pretty sure this is like every kid describing the same thing, like what they saw, right? Again, that could be the same, like kids probably saw something, they were talking about it with them or something, or I don't know. Or maybe kids saw something, they misunderstood what they're saying, and every kids are at the same age, so maybe they misunderstood something similar way. Yeah, could be anything. See, people would see me talking like this, they're like, oh, you're just a denier. It's not about being a denier. You have to be a denier. Unless there's a strong, properly strong evidence, you have to be a cynical about things. Otherwise, you'd believe in anything. That's how science works. That's how it's supposed to work. That doesn't mean you're automatically a denier. That means I need a very strong evidence. Otherwise, I'm going to find some common means to explain something.
Around in the air that the US military has observed but has concluded they don't know what it is. That's it. Let's do this. Oh, and by the way, next week's video is live right now over on Nebula. You can watch it ad-free right this minute if you go sign up for Nebula. Link in the description. No code necessary. Okay, let's get back to it. In many ways, the 2004 Tic Tac event is the starting point for a new era of UFO investigations. And again, big props to the New York Times for breaking the news that the Pentagon had been investigating UFOs in secret since at least 2007. It was a program that Harry Reid, a Democratic senator from Nevada, had personally been asking for. Big alien guy, that Harry Reid, huh? The Times reporting also revealed that there were other videos.
Everybody's an alien guy. Shut up. Don't tell me even if the most cynical one would be like, oh, I wonder what it is. That's how our human brain works. If something's mysterious, we want to know about it. So everybody's an alien guy. Everybody want to know about it. But it just depends on how you approach things. Certain people are just approach things cynically because they want to be in safe side. Other people are more hopeful. They don't really believe it, but they want to believe it, so they approach it that way. And then you just think like one guy is just believe it, other guy does not. Both guys have the same mentality, but both of them are approaching it in a different way. Everybody's alien guy in the end. Everybody wants to know.
In 2014, a Navy jet was chasing a fleet of strange objects on the east coast of the United States. I mean, listen to this radio chatter.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh.
Damn.
They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Well, if there's another thing, it's rotating.
The next year, in the same area, a Navy pilot captured a small round object traveling at what looks like very high speeds over the water.
Did you box moving target? No, I took an auto track. Oh, okay.
Look at how they're talking.
Oh my gosh, dude. Wow.
In 2019, some Navy sailors were on board this destroyer when they pointed a camera through their night vision goggles and captured this video. On March 4th, 2019, a weapons officer sitting in the back of a fighter jet captured these pictures of a, quote, metallic blimp, a sphere, and an acorn. And then there was this incident in 2021 where a Navy pilot was filming out his window with a phone and caught this. Yeah, you probably missed it. Let's just slow that down. This. Like, what is this thing? These videos and images were shot by Navy pilots who were on duty and have confirmed to be authentic by the United States government. And these are just a few of hundreds of sightings under investigation by the Navy, many of which remained classified for, we all know what I'm gonna say, national security reasons. Not undermining it, I'm just saying like, ugh, it's just like the catch-all for all things that I want to know. Got a little out of control there.
But everything's national security. If national security wasn't the thing, they wouldn't care about it. That's their whole government's job. If something's flying on our skies, what is it? We need to know about it. What if it's a foreign power? What if it's something else? What if it's threat of some other kind? We need to investigate it. Everything's national security.
As more and more of these unidentified flying objects were being reported and talked about in the public, the Department of Defense finally assembled an official Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force. UAPs is what the government now calls UFOs because UFOs, you know, again, has been completely tainted by this stuff.
A UFO sighting over multiple cities.
I don't know what the hell it is.
An extraterrestrial event that changed the course of history. And an alien abduction witnessed by no less than 6 people.
I mean, you read through these reports, and you can start to see why the government wants to study this stuff. And no, it's not just because Harry Reid is, like, into aliens or whatever. The government says it itself that it's interested in this because of national security. Who's flying around in our airspace without our authorization? And why are they behaving in weird ways that we don't understand? But they also mention the safety of their pilots and their very expensive hardware. This new committee has been coming out with reports, and they state very clearly why they're doing this. First, the Pentagon is worried that these UAPs may be, quote, part of a foreign collection program or indicative of a major technological advancement by a potential adversary. Counterintelligence, quote, UAP pose a hazard to safety of flight and could pose a broader danger if some instances represent sophisticated collection against United States military activities by foreign governments or, crucially, demonstrate a breakthrough aerospace technology by a potential adversary.
Alright, this just made me think. You know recently how there was a Chinese balloon where people like this is a spy balloon and the Chinese actually said like this is just a civilian balloon, it's not a spy balloon. It would have been even better if they just said like You think we're going to spy like this? I mean, with a balloon, come on. We have much better means. This is just a civilian balloon. Imagine that if they had said that, right? People panic instantly. Like all these UFOs, maybe it's their technology.
Adversary. Translation, we don't really know what these things are, and that kind of scares us. Oh, and safety.
When do you start getting a thought that like, what the fuck is this thing?
So that happened when we visually saw one. There were 2 aircraft from my squadron, VFA 11, and they took off as a flight of 2. That means they're essentially flying in a formation like this. And as they hit the area, one of these objects went right between the aircraft.
We have a very strict system for controlling who is flying in our airspace to make sure that things don't run into each other. Because random stuff flying around could risk the lives of the pilots and these $67 million weapons. So when something like this happens, it's a huge...
I mean, imagine that, right? You're flying close to Mach 1 or something. I don't even know what your average cruising speed is. But something coming other way, even more fast or something, could impact at Mach 2 or something. Impact speed would be, I don't know. Imagine that kind of thing, right? So that's a scary shit.
Deal. They immediately abort whatever they're doing and they return to their ship to like discuss what the hell just happened.
And he was just sitting there saying, hey, I almost hit one of those damn things. And we all knew what he was referring to, even though we didn't necessarily have a name for it, just because we were seeing these so much. And he described it. He described it just as a black or dark gray cube, and that cube was inside of a clear translucent sphere. And essentially the apex or the corners of that cube, best he could tell, were touching that inside of that sphere.
Wait, hold on. Did you catch that? Not the weird cube inside of a translucent sphere, whatever. We'll get to that later. To me, what's actually more compelling about what this guy just said is...
because we were seeing these so much.
He is saying that these pilots have been seeing these things...
essentially all the time.
Wow. Mm. Yeah. Like, yeah, I get it. The translucent cube thing is, like, more tantalizing, but, like, the fact that these pilots report seeing these UAPs, these UFOs, all the time, day after day, week after week, that to me is more compelling evidence.
No, so to me, what question rises that since when they were seeing this a lot? Since it became more common, since it became more famous, since after that Tic Tac UFO, when they realized there is something out there, because that could be a psychological thing, right? Power of suggestion. They have been noticing that for decades, and they didn't say that would be interesting. And as far as the cube and translucent spherical thing, one thing is surprising, like Tic Tac is simple shape, right? Cube is a simple shape. The point is, these are basic shapes that they are seeing. Now that tells me that it could be anomaly, not just a technical anomaly from radar and whatever, but visual anomaly as well. Because there have been instances where people see something in the sky, they don't know what they're looking at, and they think that's something like an alien craft or something. Because you don't know what you're looking at. You don't always look up. Only astronomers look up. Most people don't, even if you're a fighter jet or whatever, right? You don't know what you're looking at. So there was an instance where around certain mountain, the air pressure, created some kind of a phenomenon that when the sun sets, it created this kind of a lighting. It made a halo, right? A ring, a halo, and weird shape that looks like a UFO or something. People didn't know that. People always gathered around to see what is a UFO, until some astronomer came out and said that this kind of a weird air pressure with the light creates this kind of phenomena, because he knew what he was talking about. He knew what he was looking at. So this simple shapes makes me think that this could be some kind of a visual anomaly and not really something being there. I don't know. If it was somewhat complex, then I would be like, okay, but cubes, spheres, I don't know.
That we need to evaluate here. And like the 2004 Tic Tac case that we talked about at the beginning.
This was happening because we upgraded our radar the best we could tell.
These Navy personnel at first don't believe what they're seeing. They think that their instruments are probably broken.
And then people started to try to fly by it and see it. And at this point, I would say maybe 80 to 90% of our squadron had probably seen one of these on the radar at this point. Everyone was aware of it.
So, according to some of these accounts, you've got a bunch of Navy pilots seeing weird stuff all the time, both on radar, but also with their infrared cameras. But are you going to be the guy who goes to your superior in the Navy and say, like, hey, I saw another UFO today? You don't want to be like the UFO crazy. You're going to get kicked out of the freaking, like, most superior pilot corps in the world because, like, you're seeing UFOs. These pilots have talked about how there's a real stigma with reporting this stuff. So a lot of them just sort of keep quiet. But it was when that near crash happened that now these pilots are literally required to file safety reports of what happened. And this is where the Pentagon and lawmakers who fund them were forced to take these UFOs more seriously.
We know that our service members have encountered unidentified aerial phenomena. And because UAPs pose potential flight safety and general security risk, we are committed to a focused effort to determine their origins.
This is where I start to get pretty excited about the potential here. Because look, this is like a real high up person in our intel community in the military who's talking about getting more data on this, on studying it. Keep going, Mr. Moultrie.
Our effort will include the thorough examination of adversarial platforms and potential breakthrough technologies, U.S. government or commercial platforms, allied or partner systems, and other natural phenomena.
Scientists, military leaders, even some politicians are joining the crowd of true believers with the US Navy task force called in.
So by 2020, this is now like becoming a thing, and this is probably why you've heard about it recently. This task force was formed, and it represents the first time since 1969 that the US government has officially, or at least publicly, acknowledged the significance of studying UFOs.
There is something there, measurable by multiple instruments, and yet it seems to move in directions that are inconsistent with what we know of physics or science more broadly. And that to me poses questions of tremendous interest and as well as potential national security significance.
Okay, wait, pause. Just, yep, inconsistent with the laws of physics. Yep, very tantalizing. Let's just pause. We're talking about UFOs here, and I feel obligated to just check in and make sure we're all on the same page, okay? First, we know it is a fact that the US government has observed stuff in the air that they can't explain. The evidence that I've presented here is solid. Solid sources, solid reporting. If I had evidence like this for any other story that I'm doing, I'd be like, this is solid evidence. Let's put it in the story, okay? We know that is true. Oh, and it's not just the few events that I've mentioned here. According to this report, there's been 144 of these instances, either from the US military or government personnel. And 80 of these reports have been gathered from, quote, multiple sensors, meaning from multiple perspectives, multiple perspectives or tools, which is like 1,000 times better than like one pilot just saw something and is remembering it. Even if said pilot is someone like Lieutenant Commander Alex Dietrich, who, when you read this profile from the Washington Post on her, seems to be a pragmatic, highly credible Navy pilot from one of the most specialized flight programs in the world.
I don't identify as a UFO person.
Like, these pilots don't have incentives.
All right, I'm not trying to diss anyone, but doesn't matter how credible you are, doesn't matter how brilliant you are, doesn't matter how cunning you are. Any kind of psychological phenomena can happen to anyone, right? So I don't care who the person is. One person is not enough. Witness testimony doesn't work in science, right? So to me, the multiple sensor thing is really credible. Because one sensor can fail, 2, 3, those sensors, all of them are failing at the same time and failing in the same way, they're reporting the same thing.
Make this stuff up. And yet, the fact remains that their instruments for measuring and observing the world is the human eyes, brain, and long-term memory, which is a pretty faulty and inaccurate data collection tool. So when I see something like 80 of these sightings being collected from multiple sensors, it makes all the difference for me. Okay, so that's number one. The US government has seen this, they don't know what it is, and it's been collected well. Number two, the other thing we know is that they've taken it seriously. This is a concern for them. The US Department of Defense is funding an effort to investigate, study, and analyze what is happening here.
All right. First of all, pause here. Look, to me, this thing only proves that it's not some make-believe thing that people just want to believe and want to create this kind of a UFO environment, because this is US Defense Committee, right? Pentagon is saying this. So that actually clarifies that they don't have the incentive to just say, oh, there are aliens. That is the only thing this brings on as credibility. After that, like I said, these people, doesn't matter if they are, in the US Air Force, right? They fly all the time or whatever. They're not astronomers. They are not scientifically equipped like how scientists are basically. So these are still people who can misunderstand something in the sky, like I explained about that mountain and UFO thing, right? This is similar to that, right? So just because US agencies taking it seriously, it doesn't mean it automatically gives credibility, everything. They might not know what they're looking at in the sky, even when they observe something. Now, tech can go bad, radar can go bad, but if they are catching on infrared cameras, they are catching it on radar, credibility goes high, but it's still not foolproof. Maybe some anomaly get captured in multiple senses as well. So I know one would think, what you want, a spacecraft to literally land in some kind of an airfield and show that, hey, we are here, what do you want? I know you would be thinking that. But in the end, this is all credible, but not 100% credible, right? Because unless some kind of a major event happened, right, somebody sees it, they see it from their eyes, they see it from all the sensors, more different fighter jet sees it as well, something else sees it as well, collectively lots of data gathers. If some event like that happened, I would be more convinced than anything else. But up until now, I don't know, it could be some kind of a weather phenomenon that we can't know about, right? So of course all the equipment will pick that up, right, if there's something there, but might not necessarily be something kind of on a aircraft or whatever. Because what is getting to me is that it doesn't go along with laws of physics that we know of, how it fastly accelerates and everything. To me, that's like, if you go from 60,000 feet to literally at the sea level or sea floor or whatever in a fraction of a second, there is way too fast of an acceleration for any aircraft that we can think of, or even we can imagine beyond our capabilities, because that's way too fast. That's extremely fast, and it defies laws of physics or whatever. That's what gets to me. Like, laws of physics are not up for debate, right? I mean, you can know more about laws of physics, but what laws of physics that are established are there, they are just there, right? So that is kind of to me like maybe some kind of anomaly, because any organism that we can think of would not survive that kind of a G-force pressure. So I don't know. Is some UFO type of thing, alien type of thing possible? Sure. Is there possible that some other country got some kind of attack and they are doing this? Sure. But so far, I need even more stronger evidence if I'm going to think anything. But I don't know. You know what? I'm going to stop here. It's a 30-minute mark for me at least. I'm going to do the second part tomorrow or something. But yeah, this is always interesting. Videos like this. Well, I'll see you next time.